Without going live. Right. We live.
What's good?
Welcome. I'm Trevor Castleberry with,
My name is Adrian Evans.
and I'm the owner of Castleberry Consulting and the owner of the Flutter Hustler book series. Adrian, you could introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
I'm the host of the Black Wealth Media Podcast. I interview Black entrepreneurs and business owners, and you know, it's a podcast, but it's more than a podcast. It's an education system as well. So, yeah,
All right. So pretty much we're gonna start coming out every Sunday around 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern time to give you guys some gems and just talk about all sorts of things that have to do with really, black business, black wealth, black family, and blackness, right?
yes.
Uh, Today I got a couple things that we could talk about, but Adrian is really the black business historian of the crew. uh, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was when people talk about the mean, median, and when people talk about the median income, right, or the average income in the United States, I saw a TikTok video breaking down like, people talk about the mean, which is just the average, but really, you know, if you have somebody that make $1 billion or $6 million, it really pulls that average up a lot. And
Yeah,
the only reason it makes sense to me is because like in middle school we had to do like a science. Well, we did like a science experiment, and it was like um, what was it? Well, maybe we read something, whatever it was, but it was something along the lines of how many people did something, like how many states people travel to or something like that. Uh, and because one person had been to like 24 states or something like that, it dragged the whole average up of the class. Where it seemed like the average person went to like 5 different states, but in no
hmm
reality, most of us only had been to like two or three, right?
yeah,
And so the TikTok video is kind of talking about the same thing in terms of income. So everybody think that, oh, $51,000 is what the average person is making, and that's how everybody is kind of surviving. But it breaks down, for everybody that remembers math in middle school, it's mean, median, and mode, right? And those are like the three different things you would use to analyze your data. So the mean would be the average, with everything added up and then, divided by the total number of data points. But the median would literally be like the split point between the top income and the lowest income. And I read something that said the median income for the United States is only $38,000,
hmm
meaning that most people make it much less than 51,000 or $52,000. But then the last thing the dude was talking about is how come we never see anybody talk about the mode, and what the mode would be is like what income or what income range actually has the most people that's inside of it, right? So at that point, the average doesn't affect it. It's just which one is most frequent in America. And I was looking for data. I was only able to find one, spreadsheet that kind of talked about it, but it didn't have a link to like, all the data points that they use. But it was saying that the mode would be somewhere around like $10,000, meaning that most people in America only making like $10,000 or less, and that blew my mind because I was like, how is that possible? But the main thing I was thinking is like, is that really the average person, or is that including people in high school and stuff like that? Is that including people that's just unemployed anyway? Or and if that's the case, should we even look at those numbers, or should we only look at numbers of people that's fully employed and stuff like that? So
yeah,
that's my first topic.
yeah, yeah, man. That's interesting. Because a lot of people, like especially in high school, a lot of people like now, especially now, a lot of people are working more in high school. So and is not making a lot of money, and then you have people that are in college, they're working in college, but they're not making a lot of money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that makes me think about, like, even though you were talking about the mode and the median, like the income average, that makes me think about how recently, I don't know if you know, but recently the what was it? Black spending went up to 1.6 trillion. You know what I'm saying? It was at 1.4 trillion, but it went up to 1.6 trillion, and then the average black family household income went down from 28,000 per black family to 24,000, and that jump was crazy. That's what that makes me think about, and it made me question, like, man, like, we are definitely consumers, but I guess we don't really have enough producers,
I
in the
don't know.
community. You know what I'm saying? So that blew my mind. That really blew my mind. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why, like, that's one of the reasons I created the Black Wealth Media podcast. You know what I'm saying? Because for one, I wanted to connect black consumers with black producers. You know what I'm saying? The people that are listening, they're getting something from the black, producers, whether they're a black consumer or producer. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then also, like I said, this podcast is more than an education. It's more than a podcast. It's an education system as well. You know what I'm saying? So eventually, like, I want to, and I'm sorry, I'm going off on a little tangent right now.
Nah, do your thing.
But yeah, man, like, so, like I said, eventually I want to, like, have a Black Wealth Media Academy. You know what I'm saying? Like, where I have black business owners teaching people how to, start a business, or teaching people a skill. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, like, I wanna definitely contribute to black economics. You know what I'm saying? And making more producers. You know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to become a producer myself. I'm still working
Right.
a full-time entrepreneur. I'm still working on that myself. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man, that was my take on it. That was what my mind went. Sorry if I went off the rail a little bit.
Nah, but to bring it back around, which number you think is most important? The fact that if you average out everybody income in America from richest to poorest is 51,000.
Yeah,
If you look at the actual middle ground between everybody is 38,000, which I don't even know how that makes sense because, like, oh no, I get it. I guess they taking, like, if it's 30 million people or something, they going for if they add up from lowest to highest from 0 to 38 million, the one that from 0 to 30 million, the one that's at 15 million, where is it? So it's like once you go at 15 million people, you still only actually, how many people is in the U.S.? Let me just look for the number. U.S. population is 330 million. So I guess once you get to the 165th millionth person,
yeah,
they still only making $38,000, right? So
that's
that's
right.
what the median really means, right? So is that more important than the actual average, right? Because again, that's like the Jeff Bezos of the world really pulling that thing up of
Yeah,
what you would think the average is, because that middle person only at 38. But also, it's saying the most frequent one is only around 10,000. So,
yeah.
like, which one of those is actually the most important for people to even be paying attention to?
That's a good question, man. I would probably say the average, man. Probably the average, because it's really, like, it's probably the norm. The average is the norm. Like, that's what everybody looks at. And
But it's a play on words, because
yeah,
I'm a math nerd. So really, mean and average is a little bit different.
yeah,
Mean is there's 330 million people. You add it all up and divide it by 330 million, and the average is almost like it's almost like what we all consider to be average. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
mathematically, the average is typically the same as the mean, but phonetically, most people when they say average, they just think of what they see everybody around them having. So it's like a lot of people think the mean is really average, but you don't really know that until you look at the median income. Because the median income say almost like if you did it on the bell curve, that 50% person that's supposed to be the average is only at 38,000.
yeah.
So like me personally, I'm really looking at the median income. The mode I can't look at because I'm like, if it's just that many, we already know it's way more people that have zero wealth than there are people that have acknowledgeable wealth, right? Because if you only got $12,000 in wealth, you're not really, it's not enough to really make a difference generationally. But if we talking about something like $1 million worth of wealth, or at least enough for your child to go to college or get a certification or something like that, $120,000 in wealth. At that point, I would say it's more acknowledgeable. But we already know most people in America is all the way at the bottom and just gonna keep on working. And I'm in that place technically myself, right? I'm able to bring in a lot more income, but I gotta spend so much of it to live that I'm still there working. So I don't think the mode really, as shocking as $10,000 is, it's not a number that I really would have cared about, because I know the mode would have been so low. But to look at that middle person bell curve wise in America is 38,000. It really made me put a bigger perspective on, like, I remember being stressed when the first time I made 95,000 in a year, because at first I was happy, like, yo, I'm so close to 100,000, which was my goal. But then I realized, yo, I'm only $5,000 away, and I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. And so I went through like a little depression for like 2 weeks. This was last February. And that kind of pushed me on another journey where 2021 was the first time I really started having to like put money aside to invest in, like, mental health and get a life coach and all of that. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Because a lot of people think, oh, you hit 100,000 and it all works out. But it's like, no, because to hit that 100,000, you may have to work in a particular city or near a particular city. To work near that particular city, you got to pay more rent, or you need a car to drive in and out and stuff like that. And it get kind of out of control, because all my money coming from a W-2 in that regard. So it's not like I'm able to play around the tax game.
Yeah, man. That's interesting you said that. Like, that makes me think about, like, I used to work for Haverty's Furniture. I was a truck driver, delivery truck driver. And my first year working there, before that, I worked at a moving company. It was called College Homes. And I was getting a decent paycheck, maybe like 1,100 every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, we just got to say numbers. I'm tired of people being scared to say how much they make. It was like, no, just put the number out there. I just told you, most of us poor anyway.
Yeah.
Like, don't even matter the race. Most people in this country poor.
Thanks. And so, I was getting decent checks every 2 weeks, and then, like, at first it felt like, man, like, this is all right. Like, I was paying my bills. I had like a little money left over, but I had a little money left over, but it was like hard to save. And then I left that job because they was like tripping on hours, whatever. Went to Haverty's, and now that, I was getting maybe $1,400 every 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, that's all right. And I realized, like, after I was paying bills, bro, it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really a big difference. And I think I ended up, my first year working, I think I ended up making like 35, 40K that whole year. And it really didn't feel like it. So I felt like, man, I gotta bring some more money in. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a wife, I got a son. And so then I was like, okay, what else can I do? So I started doing like Uber Eats, DoorDash, like, so I would get off work. Like, I'm at work, I got to be at work at 7. We probably be done, let's say 4 or 5, we done delivering all the furniture. I'm like, all right, so I'm about to go do Uber Eats for a couple hours. And at that point, when I was doing that, it felt like, man, okay, I got money all the time. But at the end of the day, man, like, that wasn't like that was nothing, man. Like, that was really nothing, because, and like, I have this app on my phone. It's called Mint. It shows you what you're spending per month, and it shows you, what you're bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at one point I looked at the app. I'm like, I was spending more than I was actually bringing in. I'm like, bro, something ain't right. And So I had to look at some stuff. Me and my wife sat down. We was like, man, what is going on? Because my wife is actually an entrepreneur. She has her own business. You know what I'm saying? So she got her own thing going. I live around a lot of entrepreneurs, and so I'm trying to. Side note, I'm trying to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Just it comes to a point where you got to look at like, what are you spending? Like, what are you doing with your money? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was not doing the right things. I'm not even gonna lie. I wasn't doing the right things, man. So, like, I think I got to get to a point. Me personally, I got to get to a point where, okay, it's good to have goals or what you want to make, but I think I think me personally it would be good to have like a solid plan. Like, what are you going to put your money in to bring you in more money? And people always
Right.
talk about your money working for you because money don't get tired. So, now I'm at a point like, okay, when I start making some serious money, I gotta have like a solid plan. This is how much I'm gonna put in this, and you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
So yeah, it's interesting you talking about that, man, because it's like it, I didn't grow up with financial literacy. Like nobody taught me how to where to put your money, how to use your money. And me, like I ain't gonna lie, I like to eat. So
Right.
any
Yeah.
chance I like,
That's the
like
same place, man. That's the same place my whole life. I wasn't the fly guy, but I was able to get food after school.
and especially like Uber Eats, like I was like, man, I'm doing this Uber Eats. And Uber Eats, they pay out every day.
Hmm.
You can pay out up to 5 times a day. And so usually after I got off work, man, I'd make like $40, $50 extra. And I remember one month I ended up making, I was doing, the Haverty's trucking and Uber Eats, and I ended up making like 4,500. And I'm thinking like, damn, it was nice, because with my regular Haverty's check, I make like a little less than 3K. But when I was doing Uber Eats, I made like 4,500. And I'm like, okay, this is nice, but I'm still a lot of money's going out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of
Hmm.
money's going out. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I think doubling back on you and when you said you need a plan, it's like before you even could even really put together the plan, you got to have a vision of what you even going towards, right? Because it's like because my therapist kind of had to put me on game like, yeah, Trevor, you know, basically I had a plan for the end of the year for 2021, which is um, get a new construction management job. So I was able to get a second job, even though that likely won't last the whole year. I'll have to negotiate and play hardball in order to keep both for the whole year. But one, I was able to secure up a second job and with higher pay. Um, and then two, I was able to move out of New York City. So now we're in Connecticut. So, rent is a little cheaper.
Yeah,
And so the ultimate goal for me and my wife is to move to Ghana
yeah.
because she has family out there.
That's
Her mom is building a home out there. So I had to really think about, Trevor, what's the real vision you working towards, all the different facets of it, and then like um figure out, okay, what's the next move for each one of these things to get there. So
yeah,
when he told me to do it, my engineering brain, like, okay, break it up into fours, right? I don't know. I like breaking everything into fours. So I'm like, all right, you gotta have your personal vision, your corporate vision, your family vision, and then like your network vision, right? And personally, it was like I'm really doing everything I'm supposed to do. Like even as far as like my friends and stuff like that. When everybody got like their group chat or people that they DM certain type of content. Everybody, even if it's comedy stuff they want to send me, it's usually about money and business and stuff like that, right? Like people not really sending me stuff from World Star Hip Hop like that, right? So I'm like, okay, personally, I know I'm doing things right. Like people look at me for certain stuff, but like corporate wise, what was it I had? Let me look it up. Um, Corporate wise, it was like I want to have like a certain type of life every day. Like
yeah,
I don't like what's the word? Autonomy. He's like, I
yeah,
want to have more free reign and selective about what I'm gonna do every day. And in order to do that, I really can't work in construction management on other people's projects every day for my life. So that kind of helped me when I negotiated for the new construction management job. I told him like, listen, I have a LLC. I'll take this position, but I need some sort of verbal guarantee, or we leave this convo in good faith that you'll bring me on as an actual subcontractor when you try to rebid this project in 3 years. And we came to an agreement at the end, but it was like now, even though I'm sticking out with another job for let's say 2-3 years, it's literally a stepping stone to possibly gain equity in these construction management contracts, which is something that I would have never been able to, work my way into. I only would have been able to be a project manager that does that for somebody else's company as opposed to from my own. So it's like if I didn't write out that vision or kind of get that clarity before I even had that negotiation, I'd have took the job, maybe got the nice pay, but missed out on that whole opportunity for a possible stepping stone to go from worker to owner in a contract. So I think the figuring out the vision at the end really make the most sense. Because even like the family vision part, living in Ghana, it was like, okay, Trevor, you don't really have to think about saving up a bunch of money and putting a down payment on the house and the mortgage and all of that stuff. You just got to get to a point where your income is coming online so you can get it while you're in Ghana, and then you can just go there and live there, and at that point it's like, okay, the next step is just take a trip out there, because I still haven't been there. It's like, all right, Trevor, you at least got to take a trip out there so you know what you're getting into, what the house look like, the area, whatever, and we could start planning from there. So I was able to figure out, okay, now this year I gotta start saving money and putting it to the side for a trip to Ghana for next year. And it kind of went from there. But figuring out what you really working towards and trying to get more detailed and accurate about that vision really helps you cut out a lot of the BS. Because you end up with, let's say, like 5 different options you could take. Like, oh, I could start a trucking business, I could start an Amazon store, I could start coaching, I could start, I could write a book, or I can start a podcast, and you try to do all 5 thinking you need 80 streams of income. And it's like, well, first thing you needed was what you was working towards. And since you didn't have that, you just been running on the treadmill for 5 years. But yeah, I had to get that out because it like literally I just spoke to my therapist yesterday about it. So it still was on my head.
No, that's facts, man. Because
I think we get a little feedback on your mic.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's like
is it
like a fan on or something?
It's the monitor from the
Gotcha.
Okay, what about now?
Yeah, it's a little low. It is better.
All right, yeah, man. So yeah, it's interesting you said that. Me personally, like, I feel like I need to, be at a point to where I just have assets that are just paying for everything.
Right.
Like I don't need to focus so much on saving money. I think I need to focus more. I think a lot of people do too. And that's interesting that you said that. But I think I need to focus more on buying assets that'll pay me. You know what I'm saying? So like I remember one time I was thinking about so I have this podcast, Black Wolf Media. I was thinking about, man, it would be a good idea to start like a vending machine business or something, because vending machines, you're not going to start off making a lot of money, but that's passive income. You start off, you buy you a machine, and you buy you another one, you end up making passive income. And then like me personally, saving is, I'm not very disciplined, saving is so hard. And it now, not that I can't do it. I'm not gonna say I can't do it. I can do it. I can do it. But like I said, I have to have a solid plan. But saving, it just takes so much time, and I would rather just buy assets or just create another entity that can pay me. You know what I'm saying?
What would you say your vision is? Because the assets really will be based on what the vision is. Like if your vision is living with a big old yard and a fence, then you definitely not about to live in New York City.
So honestly, man, my vision is for my family. Like I said, I only got one son and I'm married. My vision is I want to a lot of land. You know, I want like 20 acres, and I want to be self-sufficient. Like I want to have. I actually want a farm. I want a low-key farm. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to have a nice, decent house. You know, it ain't got to be like a mansion or anything, but you know, something that can house my family. And I want a big family too. So I know that my vision is definitely going to like have to incorporate um for me to like buy a lot of land, buy 20 acres of land, and me to buy it, like buy that land and then build that house on the land. That's what I'm doing
Right.
for my family. Um, it's definitely going to take some work, especially like making this podcast, you know, an income stream. You know what I'm saying? I admit it's not an income stream yet. I've been doing this podcast for like 2 years. I'm 2 years in, you know what I'm saying? So it's still a work in progress. But I just have to go harder on this and then figure out other ways where I can create an income stream and then have that income stream create another one. You know what I'm saying? Like Black Book Media Academy, for instance. That's something. Like I said, that's something I want to start. So that's my vision. Uh, that's my ultimate goal. And then another thing I want to touch on is I did something I think is very important. Like I'm ashamed to admit, but maybe some brothers, you know, maybe people can relate to me, but I actually just got life insurance. You know what I'm saying? And so I got whole life insurance. And I just turned 30. And so
I turned 30 in May.
look at that. Yeah, man, I just turned 30 and I'm very proud of myself because, you know, now I got my family, health, vision, dental. Now I got a life insurance policy. Something happened to me. They good. You know what I'm saying?
The feedback is overtaking me.
It is again. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, man.
So this is real life.
I don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from the bottom, but I don't know how to like.
But you just talk a little louder, that way the mic will pick you up.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So
yeah,
that sound better. Yeah. So what am I saying? Yeah. So I'm actually pretty proud of myself because I took that step. And you know, from what I've always heard, like growing up, insurance is something like a lot of Black families avoid. Like it's like going to the hospital. Like we don't want to go to the hospital because we don't want to pay for that job.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I broke a curse, man. You know what I'm saying? Like if I go, my family's good. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the first step in creating. I took the first step in creating generational wealth. You know. So yeah, I just want to touch on that.
Nice. Yeah, I got life insurance thinking like 2019. So luckily I got it before COVID. So if anything would have happened, I was good. I remember when, you know, I know it's not funny to talk about, but when people really started dying from it, I'm like, first thing I did, I looked at my wife, I'm like, man, good thing we got our life insurance. Like I was like, man, I know the people that got health insurance and no life insurance are scared right now.
No, that's facts.
Because I used to tell me, I'm like, man, my life insurance is way more important than my health insurance. I could make health decisions. I was like, I won't play no more basketball. I only drive slow. So, you know, if somebody hit me, you know, there's things in place, but I got checks and balances there. But I can't really control if I die. Something happen, you know, boom, Trev die. I can't control that. I'm like, I got to get that first.
Yeah.
So I mean, I used to at one point I was on my mom's health insurance. I think I turned 24 and they took me off.
Yeah.
And so I was paying the penalty every year at taxes for not having health insurance. So I was like, I got to use this money. I'm very healthy. So you know, I played basketball. I'm like, no, I'll just stop playing basketball because every injury I ever had in life came from basketball. I'm like, just stop playing basketball and start driving slow, and you should be all right. So that definitely made a huge difference. I'll be honest. Is it better if I would have had health insurance all of that time? Probably, but you know, I was healthy. You know what I mean? I stopped eating meat. Like, I took every precaution I could. So it's like, I think I was talking to my wife the other day. It's like, you know, once you get the vision down, it's all about, okay, what are you actually willing to do to get there? It's like, all right, you want to save this money, and the only other place you could take it from is health insurance. All right, what are you willing to do to make sure you stay healthy? Are you willing to eat less? Are you willing to work out every day? Are you willing to don't play no more sports? Like, so those like the kind of decisions you got to make that may get you over these small humps here and there. You know, because people were asking me, and I'm like, listen, I'm struggling just as much as you. My check just bigger, but I gotta spend most of it because, you know, my wife don't work. So it's like, that's it. Like, you know, I gotta make more money so she don't work, so she could take care of the kids. Because if we wasn't, when our daughter was born, daycare was gonna cost $1,200 a month. And I'm like, I'm like, that's almost as high as my rent. So I immediately in my head, I'm like, how are other people paying for health insurance? And I'm like, oh, so I mean, paying for childcare. So I'm like, okay, all the people that got daycare live with their parents, and then all the people that got their own house, not sending their kids to daycare somehow. And I'm like, you gotta like weigh these options, make a choice, and go from there. But yeah, that was one thing I wanted to touch on. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to talk about today was, you know, just looking at those numbers and seeing, like, you know, if you at 51,000 and you at the average, you might feel like, you know, oh, I'm just so average and I got to turn to above average. But you know, don't like overlook where you already at. Like 51,000 isn't a lot of money, but it damn sure ain't a little bit amount of money either. Because it's more than enough people in this country that wish that they was making 51,000. Right? If you making 51,000, the key is really how do you live on 30,000, and that's where other people get. You know, you got people that come from backgrounds where they had to live off a little bit, but that's because they made such a little bit. But they never really learned how to live below their, you know, below what they made. Right. So it's like you might have grew up only living off $28,000, but it's because your parents only made $29,000. So you still didn't know how to live below your means. So now we done got older, make $65,000, but we living on $68,000. So, you know, now we living above our means, doing even worse. So I think that's one big thing is like figuring out, okay, if I make $80,000 or I make $90,000, that means I'm allowed to live like a $35,000 life or $40,000 life if I'm really serious about achieving whatever these other goals is that I want. But like if you are somebody that just wants something much more simple out of life, like, hey, I want my wife, I want a family, and I want to, you know, live low stress, then your main thing gonna be asset accumulation. Like you need to get a home for cheap early or get some land for cheap early and build upon it, as opposed to, you know, trying to make $200,000, because that's just a crapshoot and a large battle. The real battle is learning how to live on half of what your income is or a quarter of what your income is, and it don't get easier the more money you make. That's for sure. Yeah, I would say it gets harder.
Yeah, I agree, and I think like I always think, okay, if I make 100,000 a year, then we can live off 50,000.
Right, but if I make 50,000, it's like, can I live on 25? Do I know how to do that? It's like,
that's how I'm always thinking, man. Like, so when I get a job, like if I get a job or if I'm in a situation where I'm making that much, I'm like, man, okay, these are my expenses. I write down what, you know, this is what I'm making a month. These are my expenses. Man, we could easily live off, you know, if I'm making, you know, like I said, I'm making 50,000 a year, man, we could easily live off 30,000 and save the rest of that money and put it into something else that bring us more money. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I'm always thinking, bro. Like live it, but like you said, you make more money, it becomes harder because you become tempted.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like to eat.
You get too many options. You're like, do I want to stay do I want to keep living in this 2-bedroom apartment, or do I want to just upgrade to the
Right.
3-bedroom since I got a wife and a kid now? You know what I mean? And you know, it really just come with the discipline.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely something like I ain't gonna lie, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. That's I think a lot of people are, man. That's something I got to work on. And like what's crazy though. Back to like the health insurance. My wife was on me about it. Like, hey, we need to get health insurance. We need to get vision and dental. And, I would just like, all right, yeah, just say that. You know what I'm saying?
You just looked at it like a bill.
Yeah. Right. And it's like, damn, I don't want to do it.
Your wife's like, we gotta take this extra bill, babe.
And so finally, man, like I was like, all right, man, look, it's now or never. You better do this now. And then like even with signing up for the life insurance, I was like, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. And she stayed on me about, health insurance, dental, and vision. But I was like, okay, I want to get life insurance. I actually signed up for it by myself. She didn't have to tell me. And so I'm doing it, and I'm just like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? And then like living below your means, especially when you have a small family, like you always figure out like there's something. What we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like you making more money. Let's see. We gonna go on a vacation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like all the stuff you don't even need. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Right. So, what was it? Oh yeah, and one thing I gotta add on is another thing we all gotta do. We gotta stop talking about how much money we make before taxes, because it's misleading. It's severely misleading.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like we'll say something like, if I make $100,000, I could live with 50, and then realize, or if I make $100,000, all I gotta do is have $60,000 in bills, and I'm good. Not realizing after taxes, at least if you're in New York City or something, your $100,000 after taxes is only $65,000. So it's like, whoa, like what happened to all my money? What happened to all my money? So it's like you do the calculations, and like how many people actually, if you ask them how much they make, if you ask them how much you make after taxes, could tell you the number in a year.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm the one who tell people they should do it, and most of the time I forget to say it, right? Because I'm saying, oh, I made $89,000 last year, but really, I'm only saying that because that's what the W-2 say. But after taxes, that's probably $50,000.
Yeah.
And it's like I gotta live off of less than the 50. Yeah. I don't gotta live off less than the 80. I gotta live under the $50,000. So I think that's another big thing, because it's like it really all starts in your head, and it's like even if you don't got the financial literacy, or even if you don't have the income, it's like once you get the vision, it's like, okay, now I got the vision, I could put numbers to it. Yeah. And then once you put numbers to it, it's like, okay, I gotta make this, but then that last thing is plus taxes, right? And then once you add that plus taxes, that's when the numbers start looking all daunting, and it's like, oh, I gotta make $200,000 to do this. It's like, okay, well, I guess you gotta pull down the life you want to live. Like maybe you don't get to travel around the world every damn year. Maybe you get to travel to the next state over. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you could go to Dominican Republic and Colombia if you want, but it'll be a lot healthier in your pockets if you just took a drive, 2 states over and stayed at a resort. They called it a day. You could do that for a week and get 6 of those in a year. They'll probably be cheaper than your international trip.
Thanks, man.
People want to say, I went here, I went there. It's like people think, I gotta see this other country because it's so exotic. It's like you don't even know what the middle of America look like unless you're from here. Like I don't know what Kansas look like. I just assume it look like Pennsylvania. Like I have no idea. And I'm sure there's some great stuff in the middle of America. I'll probably never see it.
Yeah.
Right. But to like pretend like, oh, I gotta, the only reason I even got to plan for a trip to Ghana is because the vision is to live there. That's why I'm not planning for a trip to China. Right. Yeah. It's like, because that's not where I'm trying to live.
That's facts, man. It's good you touch on. It's good that you touched on that, because I had to think about that. Like I said to myself, Man, I would be completely fine if I never went to another country. I swear to God, I would be completely fine. I would just be like, man, you know, I remember one time my wife and I we went on a little vacation, like a little vacation. Man, we went to where was it? We went to High Point, and I had locked the hotel room down for like 3 days. I'm like, man, it's straight. Like we don't have to go to, we ain't gotta go to Italy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I remember when we first got married, our honeymoon, like we wanted to go to Italy, right? We wanted to go to Italy.
The
And so,
Italy costs more than the reception.
yeah, and so man, we just chilled out. We went to I think we went to Kernersville, North Carolina, and we just stayed up and we were good, bro. Like, me and Mark, we don't really need we we've just come to the conclusion we don't need to go to any extravagant place. Man, we could go lock a hotel room down for $400 for the weekend
Mhm.
in Charlotte somewhere, or you know what I'm saying? Like you really don't need that stuff. So that's why I said to myself the other day, bro, I would be completely fine if I never left the United States.
Well, and then you realize, well, if you want to go to Italy for vacation, it's people in Italy that want to come to America for vacation. Now, everybody just wants something that they think is hard to get or so far
Yeah.
away. And it's like, as much trash as I done talked about America and different stuff like that, like, don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
My honeymoon, I'm from New York City, I live in Connecticut now. My honeymoon was 2 hours away in the Poconos. We was there for a week, right? And my best man, he has a timeshare, so I pretty much just pay him,
Yeah.
for the cost of a week, and we was good. So my honeymoon costed me, and we just talking about to get the room and everything, $200 because I went through my best man, right, and my brother. And then the actual wedding, I'm like, because now, traditionally, everybody wants to talk about, oh, the man got to get the ring, got to get that, got to this. I've been with my wife since I was like 17. Like she since she was 16. So I'm like, listen, if you want a whole blown out wedding and stuff, right? Because I didn't want to just go to the courthouse either. I still wanted a wedding too. I'm like, we're gonna go have a wedding. Like, if I'm the one paying for this, it's a long wait for this thing, right? But eventually, what happened was, I think 2020, her brother got married in Philly, and they got married in the park. Then they went to their apartment complex. It was like a big patio section in the front. They just rented that, and like we all sat outside and ate. And they got food from like a regular store, or whatever, or a restaurant, and brought it over. And I'm like, yo, we could just do something like this. Sure enough, last year we went, got married in the park 8 blocks away from the house. I'm like, yo, we pay taxes. That's the nicest park I ever lived by. We're gonna get married in the park. Right? So it was a really nice park, especially summertime, because the trees start blooming and stuff like that. It's in the Bronx for Veterans Bicentennial Veterans. We got married. I'm like, all right, how much it costs to reserve a spot in the park? Because for a reception or something like that, the hall is really like the most expensive thing. I was looking online, stuff saying $10,000. I'm like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
To get the park spot registered, it was $25. So now every time I got a friend anywhere near my income bracket or lower or in my age range, I'm like, you get married, you better go get married in the park. You better go get married in the park. I tell everybody, if you're watching this right now and you're the man who your family is not paying for the wedding and your family ain't paying for it, you got to pay for it, get married in the park. Your taxes already paid for it. Put in your $25, go buy you some chairs, get you some nice seat covers, some water. No speaker, you don't even need a speaker. Y'all don't need that much music, I'm telling you.
Right.
You think you need a lot of music, you don't. For the wedding reception, no, I think on our wedding reception, we spent, if you want to include my wife's dress and all of that stuff, you probably spent like $3,000. And I was proud of that. I'm like, oh yeah,
Hey,
And then the reception, my mom really helped a lot with that. So I put up like $2,000. So altogether we spent like $5,000. I'm like, yup, that's how that need to work. Cause I'm tired of looking online and seeing people pay $30,000 away. I'm like, what people? That's that average number. You got people like Kanye spending millions of dollars on his wedding, right? It's like, no, don't try to bring up the average there. I want to see the median number. What the median weddings look like. And I bet you they somewhere around $10,000 max.
yeah.
Because I know I can do it. But my cousin Brandon, he had a fly wedding. Like
Yeah.
it was like 3 weeks before mine. He had the church rented out, a hall rented out, and all of that stuff. So I got to live through him and his wedding.
That's important, man. Simplicity, man. Just keeping it simple, man. You don't need all this crazy stuff, man. Like you really don't. Like, and you know what? And that's that made me think. How often is it that you find like a billionaire or a millionaire that's frugal? And I hear it's pretty. I hear it's pretty often. I hear a lot of millionaires like
you don't get there by sharing.
Yeah. That's facts. And so yeah, man, I think simplicity is key. As cliche as it sounds, simplicity is key.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I always be grateful to my wife for is, and again, it probably only worked because me and her been together since high school, was like talking her out of wanting a big old engagement ring and all that. I'm like, listen, why don't we just get wedding bands?
Yeah.
I was like, let's look at the difference between prices of wedding bands. And wedding bands, like $1,000 is like a grand finale wedding band. Maybe not for some of the women. Like the women ones could still get pretty high. But for the men, like that thing, the most you could get is like a $2,000 ring. They don't even have a $10,000 ring for the men. And I'm like, yo, how about this? I'm like, why don't we get? Because I'm like, yo, we got all the people that make $50,000 buying diamond rings, and then we got all the millionaires and athletes and newscasters and all of that buying the little silicone rings that cost $30. And I'm like, yo, I know some of these dudes that make hundreds of $1,000s that got their wives really nice rings, but I'm looking at a lot of my favorite athletes, and they don't have that.
Yeah.
Like I remember Andy Dalton, the quarterback, was the first person I seen to have the silicone wedding ring. My sister, when she got married, they did the wooden wedding rings. I'm like, nah, let's do the silicone ones. And that money that would have went on the ring can now go towards the wedding. And that's how we ended up planning the wedding and getting it done in like 90 days.
Yeah.
But it's, granted, we had the $5,000 available as well. You don't got $5,000, then that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
Unless you really going simple. But like we talking about $5,000 in New York City, right? So I know in North Carolina, maybe $5,000 stretch even further.
Yeah.
And what part of North Carolina you in again? Winston-Salem. Oh yeah, you told me that before, and I think I always come back and say that's where my grandfather and all his family is from too.
Yeah. I'm originally from Raleigh, but I went to Winston-Salem State. And this is where my wife is actually from Winston-Salem. So,
okay.
We got married right in college, and then we actually had our wedding at Triad Park. And Triad Park is it's out in Kernersville. Kernersville's like Kernersville's probably like 30 minutes from Winston-Salem. So we had our wedding ceremony at Triad Park, one of the biggest parks in North Carolina. It was great. It was simple. Man, after that, we went to a hotel room, spent the night, came back to Winston the next day. It was good.
Nice.
Simplicity.
And did you have to spend $10,000 to get to the park?
Ooh.
No. It's like, guys, if you paying for your own wedding, why? Who you really impressed? I was like, if your friends are gonna talk trash about you for having a wedding that's within your budget, they're not your friends. They're not.
I agree.
And I'll be honest, again, I'm kind of, it's been a year or it's been some time, so I can say this. Me and my wife, at one point, we was thinking to ourselves, yo, we got to get married while they're having these COVID restrictions and stuff. Yeah. Because once they start lifting all the restrictions, more and more people are going to be looking to come. And we can't provide food for all these people. So like we gotta get this done before they allow us to come, so we can tell. It's only 50 people max. Like that's all. That's all they allowed. But really, like that's all we could afford too.
Opportunity.
But we know y'all will respect the COVID thing before y'all respect Trevor don't got enough money. being realistic, but you know, like all of my friends, my dude Sam, I even told him like the first. I feel like the first tough task of every like couple is choosing the guest list at the wedding. Because like most people got a limit that you can afford. Like imagine you could have the best wedding ever, but it's only enough space for 45 people.
Yeah.
Who you inviting? And that's your list.
Yeah.
That's your list.
Yeah. And then you know all those people ain't gonna show up because you're gonna get somebody that's gonna call the day of or the day before and be like, yeah, bro, I ain't gonna make it. So
I had that. Yep. Or it was people that was it. Mad people came to the wedding, but a bunch couldn't stay for the reception and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, I was so glad.
Yeah, fact.
Word. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I have for today. That actually stretched it to a lot more than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, that was solid, bro.
But yeah, of course, again, I'm Trevor Castleberry, CEO of Castleberry Consulting. You can find my my books, all of my social media sites, and everything at castleberry.com. Yes, I live in Connecticut now. I still work in New York City construction management, and I do a lot of negotiation, coaching, and training for inspectors, being able to handle conflicts in the field, as well as people going into career and business negotiations as well.
All right, and I'm Idrin Evans, guys. I'm the host of the Black Wealth Media Podcast. Where I interview Black entrepreneurs and business owners, and we also talk about things that's going on within the Black business world. As far as financial, what's going on financially with Black people, and then also, like I said, it's more than a podcast. It's a media company. It's an education system as well. And yeah, that's all I got.
Right. See y'all next week, 3 p.m. Eastern. Peace.
Peace. All right.